Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farokh Patafi. Once again, we are going to talk about our region, the developing situation in the region, which is very important. We know it has been quite a while since India imposed curfew in Maqbooza Kashmir or Indian occupied Kashmir. That is not all. We have seen India repeatedly doing or carrying out the same pogrom elsewhere against Muslims as well. We have seen now that under the garb of NCR, their nationality and citizenship deciding campaign, they have rendered 1.9 million people in Assam, mostly Muslim, stateless. And that is going to be really an ugly scene because they claim, the Indian authorities claim that the people now incarcerated in Assam are basically Bengali, belong to Bangladesh. And the strange thing is they don't have any repatriation agreement with Bangladesh. So it seems that it is going to be once again something similar to Nazi concentration camps, which will be continued indefinitely. That is one aspect. And India then seems to actually act as the spoiler when it comes to other overtures that Pakistan has. Remember, despite so much tension between India and Pakistan, Pakistan today provided consular services to the Indian spy in Pakistan's custody. Pakistan is cognizant of its responsibilities. It seems that India keeps on behaving like an irrational actor. That is one aspect. The other is, of course, Afghanistan. The situation in Afghanistan is important because Pakistan is playing a very crucial role in trying to find a deal that can ensure a lasting peace in Afghanistan. While Pakistan is doing it, the word has it that India keeps on trying to sabotage it. And there is one assessment, I'm not saying it is the right one, but one assessment that India's recent Kashmir move might have something to do with that kind of a sabotage as well. Today we are going to talk about both these aspects and more if time allows us. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by a very eminent panel. We are joined by Ambassador retired Asif Durrani Sahab, career diplomat, also writes. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is a pedagogue, Dr. Adnan Sarwar Khan Sahab, an expert on international affairs. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Zafar Mahmood Sheikh Sahab, a senior journalist. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program too, sir. Durrani Sahab, I have to start with you, sir. Your assessment of what India is trying to do within its own realm. Start with that, and then we are going to work our way to Afghanistan as well.
Thank you, Farokh. It is now becoming quite obvious that the agenda which BJP initially was following is ultimately heading towards a direction which is almost a replica of Nazism. There were some, you can say, aberrations in between when Janata Party, led by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, had a different face. But subsequently and surreptitiously, the work of the RSS, Bajrang Dal and VHP, that has now come to fruition in the country. And even during Mr. Modi's first term, from 2014 till 18, they still kept a facade of secularism.
Right.
Although it gave teeth to those Hindu nationalists, more muscles, and they started displaying their muscular power in the country, and especially targeting minorities. And since Muslims are the largest minority with almost 200 million population, and then followed by Christians and Sikhs, So therefore, Muslims and Christians especially, they have been the main target. Sikhs are being targeted in a very subtle manner.
Okay.
They are, their identity is being overshadowed by saying that they are part of Hinduism. In
Right.
fact, they got birth through, in fact, Hinduism gave birth to Sikhism to protect Hinduism.
Okay.
And then this will not stop here.
Okay.
And in order to show to the world that how this Hindu nationalism is going to work, and in order to create a fear psychosis within the country, they have targeted Kashmir.
Okay.
Kashmir is a disputed territory, a disputed state, a dispute recognized by the United Nations.
Right.
There are resolutions. So even then, by merging that and then declaring and abrogating Article 370, they have in fact just dissolved the identity, so-called identity of the Kashmiris
Right.
in the Indian Constitution as well as on the ground.
Right.
And in order to fulfill their agenda, now it is also a message to the rest of the country, to the minorities, especially the Muslims, that if they can do with the Kashmiris, they can do with anyone. If they
Right.
can do with the international agenda,
Right.
they can. They gave two hoots to the domestic agenda.
Right, sir.
So therefore, they are fulfilling their agenda of dictating their terms in order to create Hindu nationalism supremacy in the country.
Right. Dr. Saab, when you look at it, how things are actually progressing in India, especially there are clear parallels. Concentration camps here, concentration camps in Nazi Germany. SS, SR on the roads of Nazi Germany, and now Hindutva Bajrang Dal on the streets of India. And similarly, what is happening in Kashmir is also quite significant, and it reminds you the way Austria was being colonized and other parts of Germany, Europe at that time. What part of it is there that the West or the world doesn't get? And how soon will it get it? That this is a replay of Nazi Germany.
Well, Mr. Patafi, this is of course a central question that you have put. Let me say that the world after a long time finally is waking up to the sufferings at the humanitarian level, and the human rights situation is being seen into as a matter of great concern, by now almost all the important central poles of the world.
Sir.
So it is not that they have not awakened. This time this is a remarkable kind of difference as compared to the past, when they would be just keeping a mum. This time, thanks to very aggressive and appropriate diplomacy, particularly that of the Prime Minister of Pakistan, equating the present government there with Nazi Germany, and that has been circulating like a wildfire in the world.
Yeah, it
so
resonates.
Yes, that was very, very wise of him and very appropriate, true of him as well.
Right.
So I would say, but nevertheless, you see, we have to also be conscious of the fact.
Dr. Saab, you are saying that there was resonance. With due respect, here's the question. 30 days already that people are incarcerated in perhaps the biggest, the largest open-air prison within their own state. And they are denied basic rights and amenities like food, like healthcare, like communication, like transportation. And the world has done precious little in trying to actually ensure that that embargo is lifted.
Actually, they have placed a curfew on the news and information also coming out from the valley. Nevertheless, you see the BBC is reporting, and the rest of the other officials are expressing their concerns.
And the situation
so this
is grim,
is something which is somehow hopeful. Nevertheless, you see, Mr. Patafi, we have to be also clear on this realpolitik of the world, and that the economic and trade matters, and so much so that, you know, just what to speak of the West, even some of our very dear friends couldn't come up to the expectation of the Kashmiris, let alone the Muslims.
In terms of history, are you referring to Hitler-Stalin pact? Because that was sort of
Oh, yes.
the kind of
Rightly
situation that
stated.
actually defined.
And yet I believe, I quite clearly believe that the day is not far away when some of the countries, including the United States of America, at the official level, though you see they have something of an inner understanding, I believe, at the strategic level. At the tactical level, they may come up with some of the words which could console the Kashmiris as well as the Pakistanis of trying to mediate, but India has not accepted, and President Trump appears to be quite friendly yet with Mr. Modi and his government. But nevertheless, I think if only the pressure is continued to be built by Pakistan as well as the Kashmiris themselves, that would be the redeeming factor in my view.
No, I get the pressure and the effect of pressure, but the cost of that pressure might be really bad for the people of Kashmir. Because you're right, the Western media, Sheikh Saab, has actually really done
it has never been seen in the past.
A terrific
New York Times
job.
and the rest of the other newspapers.
It has done a terrific job of
So let's applaud them, yes.
Exactly.
That extent.
But the situation is pretty grim, and they keep on actually illuminating that fact, Sheikh Saab. So why is it that there is not that kind of an appreciation of the in the policy circles all over the world?
Listen, the problem is that rightly pointed out by firstly by our Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi and later on Prime Minister, on the especially on the Eid day, that the world has financial stakes with India.
So
they have some other stakes as well.
Kashmiris don't cease to be human beings.
Yes, exactly. This is our point of view. And even now when the international media has shown the real picture, some glimpses of the real picture, the tyranny of the Kashmiri people, the gross human rights violation being committed by the Indian occupation forces, but still this notice has not transformed into some action, as we saw in the recent past in the issue of Iraq, when there was said to be some weapon of mass destruction, and United Nations came forward and they allowed to invade that country, and the whole country was destroyed. So we are not saying that the UN or international bodies should come forward and let us invade this part of the region and fire the whole region. But the issue is that they have to push India onto some logical point and onto some logical situation. They have to take care of their own people. If they say that...
Sheikh Saab, I get what you're saying. But with due respect, try doing conducting one mental experiment. Try placing yourself in the place of someone who earns his daily wages by working hard daily in Kashmir, right? And he hasn't been able to do that for 30 odd days. Or place yourself, or I at least do because I'm father of 2 girls, in the place of young girls who might be listening to the statements that after 35A being scrapped, now RSS and BJP leaders are saying that we'll go to Kashmir and handpick whatever girl we want. And that kind of insecurity, that kind of fear, why would anybody not see that?
Actually, it is the same as you had earlier mentioned, that it's the same Nazi tactics that the BJP government, they are going to carry out not only in Kashmir, the whole of India. And the fear-mongering is their weapon. And we have already been, numerous times we have repeatedly saying that the rape for the first time in the history has been used as a weapon to terrorize some masses. The issue is that Kashmiri peoples have now finally came to the conclusion that they don't want to live under the present Indian system. even some autonomy that was given to them by the Indian Constitution, that was also being revoked. You know, by doing this, what India has did, India has actually created the constitutional crisis within their own country. They have created a trust deficit with the foreign powers and the businessmen. They were being trying, and now we have seen that even just in 1 month, the economy has started showing crumbling down.
Yeah.
The hype they
And
created
we are
that
going to
it's a
talk about,
shining India.
Sheikh Sahib, we are going to talk about economy as well, and when it comes to the constitutional crisis, somebody put it very aptly, saying that India's constitution and its Supreme Court are now like a military academy. Bits of it keep passing out. And right now it seems that they are dysfunctional because people have taken all the prayers regarding Kashmir. And there's Supreme Court decides in its infinite wisdom that they don't want to hear it till October. People might die, but it's okay. But coming back to you, Asif Durrani Sahab, I have to ask one question. When Hitler was actually rising, he was actually milking on the anger and the victimhood of what happened in the Treaty of Versailles, right? What is the victimhood here? If India is trying to exploit something, what exactly is their beef?
Again, it's you can say it dates back to colonialism, and on that they in fact focus on the Muslim colonialism which ruled India.
Okay.
And that is often repeated in their statements, in their books, in their publications. And that Muslim hatred against the Muslims has been generated, that we were suppressed almost 1,000 years by the invaders coming from the north. And this had created a psyche inside India which became hostage to the Muslim influences. That's why now they started coming home movement,
Homecoming, yeah.
homecoming
Ceremonies.
ceremonies.
Ghar Wapsi, they call it.
Yes,
Converting people back to Hinduism.
to reconvert them to Hinduism and all that. So this is all leads to fear psychosis in the society.
Right, sir.
And this fear psychosis, which also Hitler also introduced it, because all Germans were not Nazis, but those who tried to raise some criticism initially, they were gagged, and they were in fact mercilessly, they were dealt mercilessly.
Right.
So this is fear psychosis you also see in India, where even rational Hindu analysts and political activists, now they are being victimized.
Right.
And this was not the practice before Mr. Modi's arrival on the political scene. And this is growing. So it is basically a fear psychosis on the basis of which they want to rule the country for an indefinite period.
Right.
This is the plan.
Right.
Because
So when are they going to abolish opposition parties, ban them, and abolish the
well,
parliament?
they'll be rendered redundant over a period of time, because if you look at the results of the recent polls,
Right.
and riding on the Hindutva bogey, they almost overran Congress and other political parties.
Right.
So their performance was very poor.
Right. Dr. Saab, learning from history, learning from international affairs, do you honestly think that a reset is possible in India now?
Well, apparently, politically speaking, no.
Okay.
In fact, let me also say here that BJP, and particularly its top leader and his close aides, are ideologically quite in negative sense committed to their brand of Hindutva.
Yeah.
And as Ambassador also was saying, they have not accepted, in other words, clearly the partition of the subcontinent. And they blame Pakistan for the partition of India,
They
now
first
they
actually
are
blame
alleging
Nehru
that
also.
not only that Pakistan, India was partitioned, but now they are trying to get Kashmir as well.
Right.
So but they have this kind of a view that you were asking a question on. And this is their anger and their hatred that, well, we have to do away with all this once and for all. And you see these extremist Hindus, I have heard them on Indian TV that they say that even if for the end to this all, Pakistan, God forbid, God forbid, God forbid, they have to use the atomic weapon, they must use it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this extreme
It
kind
was
of a
happening
thinking.
back in February also. During Balakot,
Yes, but
skirmish,
you
they
see
were
the
talking about it.
socio-political fabric of India as being almost irreparably torn.
No, but how do
And
you
but
how do you actually brainwash a population of 1.3 billion?
that's I mean this
This
wave
is a
is
remarkable
sweeping
number.
across India. Nevertheless, you see, I'll again say
I think they are not all thinking.
in the same way there are some
Yeah,
sane voices, but
they've
they are
returned
subdued.
Modi. I mean, two-third majority,
That's
and
right.
he's in parliament.
That's in the parliament. But in the press, in the open society, we must accept that there have been some very true Indians, I would say very brave Indians in the intellectual community, in the rest of the segments of life, who have been raising voice, and they are highly concerned, maybe more than us, that what is happening to Indian democracy and secularism. And yet I see at the end of the day that you never know, Mr. Patafi, that, and this depends on the kind of very exemplary resistance that Kashmiris would show up till at least at the end of this month, till the this holding of the General Assembly session, annual session, and even afterwards. You never know that in October you see the Supreme Court of Pakistan may
Supreme Court of India.
salvage the
Supreme Court of India.
sorry, I'm very sorry. Supreme Court of India.
I wish our Supreme Court could
no,
do it.
The Supreme of, I'm very sorry, it's still slip of tongue. Supreme Court of India can come finally to the rescue of Indian government. On
They
their-
couldn't, with due respect, they couldn't actually rescue Chidambaram. You think
That's
they are
right.
going
I mean,
to rescue Kashmir?
if they somehow establish that this abrogation has really tarnished the structure of the Indian constitution and it has damaged it, so then they can give a verdict. They have sought the answer from the Indian government.
Yeah.
They've already sought the answer.
They have sought an answer in 1 week, and then they have said that they are going to hear the case in October.
In October, that's a contradiction in
मर
itself.
जाएगी मखलूक तो इंसाफ करोगे. right?
Exactly. But I don't think so that India can go this way in itself, from inside even. So this can also be the Waterloo, I would say, the Waterloo of Modi.
It can be, sir. But,
yes, one thing.
After the charges that surfaced against the sitting Chief Justice of India, Gogoi, sexual harassment charges,
Yeah.
after that he seems to have lost the
But Mr.
initiative.
Patafi, I'd like to also make a parallel not between just Hitler and Nazism and Modi and India, but also between India and Israel. I mean, see their policies in the occupied Palestine and India's, the settlement policy, etc. This is all the way like that. So you cannot just, I mean, there appears to be a very good kind of an
No,
understanding.
but there's a reason why I'm asking
This
this
Ghar
question.
Wapsi plan
no,
and
sir,
etc.
But they're not. Judaism doesn't convert people, right? The Ghar Wapsi is more Nazi-like
No,
situation.
about the settlement, if not
Yeah,
that one.
perhaps, but here's another question, and I have to ask you. I mean, I keep on invoking this example only for one reason. That in 1945, when Nazism finally was defeated, the world said never again. And there is this campaign. And now it seems that somehow we have ended somewhere where a people of a country of 1.3 billion people has been hijacked, and you don't have any measure to control that kind of, regression.
Probably Mr. Modi had thought this way that the world and Pakistan and the Kashmiris would absorb it. and overall the Indians would
I'm not
absorb
talking
this
about that.
very, very
International
drastic,
structures.
drastic.
So international superstructure.
Yeah.
It is supposed to have solutions where something goes totally awry and there is no solution. I mean, you go to UNSC, it is essentially a deadlock, right?
Yeah.
Situation happens like that. Go elsewhere. So international system
The
seems to
point
be
is, Mr.
failing
Patafi, that
again.
has the world sought the solution to the Palestinian problem since 1967?
No, but I'm
they
not a
haven't.
Palestinian.
So
I'm not an Arab,
no,
sir.
I'm just
I'm
making
concerned
a
about
parallel
my country.
that
No, sir,
in the
I don't
world,
want to.
this is the order of the day.
Because in Arab world, there are umpteen countries speaking for Palestinians. For Kashmir, there's only one,
Yeah.
and that is my country.
That's
so
right.
I have to worry about Kashmir. Sheikh Saab, now when I was asking Dr. Saab about brainwashing 1.3 billion people, one tool is quite visible, and that is Indian media. They're obnoxious, and I'm sorry I'm using this term. Obnoxious propaganda campaign doesn't seem to stop. Yesterday, the ZTV was running a live commentary on how to survive a nuclear holocaust. Actually, this is nuclear fear-mongering. So why is it that media usually is supposed to be very conscientious? Why does it fail or fall apart in India?
Sir, unfortunately, Farooq, this Indian media has become subservient to Modi.
Okay.
Instead of serving the society and the people,
Yeah,
they have
question is
decided.
why?
They have decided to serve the Modi fanatic regime.
Okay.
And they know that this fear mongering is the coin of the day, and they can sell it and they can get benefit out of it.
No, but these are not fanatic people. They come to Pakistan or Middle East and they eat beef and all that. And they're not personally fanatics. But now when they're sitting on television, what exactly is happening? Why have they lost control?
Actually, saner voices are there, but they are not that much powerful that it should
television?
bring, not on television, in the Indian society I'm talking about. But the saner voices have not find their way out to reach a wider audience, either through social media. Even if you see the social media,
Right, sir.
that is not being controlled by these billionaire TV channel or media houses owners. They are being run by even common people. So see the mindset. Mindset is the same. Actually, in my personal opinion,
mindset, they usually have troll farms
Yeah.
where trolls actually sit, they are trained, and their job is actually to hijack conversation and insult the other side. So you don't know how many of these social media accounts are legit and how many are actually Modi's own trolls running around.
definitely that is there. In my personal opinion, Farooq, a few months back during the last Indian general elections, that was the last chance for the Indian society to undo what they were going to do.
Lost?
But they lost the chance. They have given, their death. They have death sentence, and they have given their fate in the hands of a person who don't know, who don't know the logic, who don't know the human rights, the human values. They lost everything. Just today, I was going through the Stockholm International Institute for Peace and War Studies, and they said that India has tremendously, increased their firepower and their military weapon. Now they have upgraded from 5th to 4th position in buying the weapons, arms in the world. And in last 10 years, they have increased 29% of their budget.
Right.
And just in last year, 2018, they bought $66.5 billion weapons from the world and exported only $1.5 billion.
Right.
So, I mean, what it reflects their thinking and mindset. They are being preparing to fight, to establish their hegemony in the region since decades.
Hegemony or colonizing?
Colonization.
Because they talk about Akhand Bharat, and that by no means actually mean only Pakistan. They believe that their domain extends to Afghanistan and then Bangladesh, Myanmar, God knows where else.
Yeah. And in my opinion, why they haven't been able to invade Pakistan and attack with full-fledged military machine, I think the only thing that stopped them is not only our nuclear deterrence, but also our effective delivery system. Actually, this is our delivery system and our missile technology that has totally wiped out their.
I want to actually connect my question about media with the nuclear talk. I understand that I've actually brought out the example of India actually fear-mongering, Indian media actually fear-mongering, but let me go back to Durrani Sahab. I'm sure that you watch Indian media. Good luck to you that you can tolerate that kind of stuff. But recently, if you listen to their rhetoric about Afghanistan, it seems that they are very angry that Pakistan might have some conciliatory role to play, and India has been left out of the loop. Why is it? Why is it that they are behaving that way? And is it essential that India has to be in every room for things to improve?
Yeah. Unfortunately for India, it is, they say whatever they say is right. India has no role to play in Afghanistan for practical reasons.
Right.
India did not sacrifice for Afghanistan, nothing. And their contribution is through money.
No, they actually built a library that Donald Trump gives on reminding
that
us.
Mr. Trump said it,
Yeah.
but they built the parliament, they have been building other institutions and all that. They have been training in Afghan army as well. So that is there. And they have been in cahoots with former Northern Alliance people. Especially they have been hand in gloves with their intelligence agency, NDS.
Yeah.
And through the NDS, they have been carrying out their activities against Pakistan
So,
in Balochistan and through the TTP.
right.
And this is something which is not a secret, which has come into open. And they also used Iranian territory, where from where Kulbhushan Yadav came, and
he's in custody.
he was carrying out his activities through Chabar, where he had opened a front office. That office was actually a jewelry shop, and he was running a full-fledged operation from there. So India has missed the opportunity in Afghanistan for right reasons, because as I said, they had no role to play. They didn't render sacrifices except for the money, and except that they played a negative role and just to pressurize Pakistan.
Right.
But here, Pakistan has actually rendered sacrifices.
Right.
It is because of Afghanistan that we lost 70,000 people. We didn't lose this much of people, and I mean, in terms of blood and treasure, that we had 3 wars with India.
Right.
So our casualty rate was not that. So we have rendered unprecedented sacrifices, more than what if you combine the whole US and NATO forces inside Afghanistan.
Right.
So in that respect, and then Pakistan could play a role as a facilitator, because Pakistan played its cards well. And then it is just not that. If you recall, just 2 months ago, we had a conclave in Bourbon where all Afghan opposition parties, they came.
Right.
So that showed their confidence in Pakistan, that Pakistan can play a positive role. 85% of Afghanistan trade passes through
Pakistan.
Pakistan. Pakistan is still the largest trading partner of Afghanistan. If you see any youth, girl or boy, behind the computers, they invariably got education in Pakistan.
Right.
There are more than
Even
30,
Abdullah actually got educated in
all
Pakistan.
of them, all. I am saying any youth.
Yeah, but I'm talking about a
Yes,
leader.
yes,
national
they're
leader.
senior. So right now, Afghanistan into its the 3rd generation
Yeah.
in the past 40 years that they have suffered because of this bloodbath.
Right.
And now the opportunity is coming where the United States and Taliban are talking, and they are supported. This effort is being supported not just by Pakistan, but Russia and China, as well as Iran.
Yeah.
So immediate neighbors of Afghanistan are supporting this whole process. India is not an immediate neighbor.
Right.
In real terms, Indian analysts, especially those who are objective analysts, they see the reason why India could not get a place at the high table.
Yeah, but they keep on talking about their near abroad, and they keep on saying that
Well,
they have the
this is a term which was used by the Soviets and some
It
other
was.
expansionist powers in the past, but that did not work.
yeah.
So Russia was not defeated militarily anywhere, but it imploded. So there are all, you can say, signs inside India now with this kind of a polity which they are in fact pursuing. So that would lead to implosion. Because India is not a power. India has a big size.
And India, minus those years of colonialism that you were mentioning,
Yeah.
never was a country.
It never was. That's
Yeah.
correct. That's correct.
Yeah,
That's correct.
a ragtag band of small tribes and all that. But Dr. Saab, coming back to Afghanistan, the question now is, what can India do to actually sabotage the peace process? Because we have recently seen an upsurge in attacks by ISIS, and there is this theory that somehow it has basically regrouped, bits of TTP that have actually started calling themselves ISIS, supported by India, and they are carrying it out. Can it be a spoiler? Secondly, how close America and the US are in resolving the dispute or the situation?
I'll come to the last part of your question first. If we believe Mr. Zalmay Khalilzad, he has just said, and it has appeared in today's newspapers, that it may be just 7 to 15 days away, the formal signing of agreement, and that 9 rounds have produced fruitful results, and the next is going to be Oslo. That would be its second phase in which the intra-Afghan dialogue would take place at Oslo, the Norwegian capital. But anyway, the point is that the overall trajectory, if we see the policy of President Trump, has been towards resolving this conflict, and he has been almost saying it with a lot of sarcastic remarks as well, that look at this thing, that we have been there for 18 long years, and you see, so it appears that yes, they have made up their mind, and they are going for that kind of a settlement which is graceful as per the American standards, in which they would say that, well, we have obtained the guarantees from the Taliban that they are not going to attack any of our interest, etc., etc. But at the same time, they have also
stated they are not going to pull out all the forces.
no, yes, but
Then how does it work?
here I'll have my own view, and there is that if that is done, this is going to be a non-starter.
Okay.
Yes, Taliban are not going to accept it, but they are going to do it on the firm guarantee that if anything of a wrong nature occurs from their point of view,
Right.
against some terrorism, against them, their allies, etc., etc., then they are going to come back with even greater force.
Right.
This is what they have been saying.
I'm going to come back to you for the answer, the first part of the answer, but Ambassador
Right.
Saab wants to add to it.
Taliban, I think there will be an agreement
Okay.
for the token presence of American troops.
8,000 soldiers?
Oh, this is the figure we are now looking at, but that without agreement, I don't think there will be an agreement. So it would be Taliban's consent.
Okay.
And in lieu of that, I think in lieu of that, the Americans will have to offer not only certain guarantees,
Right.
including non-intrusion and other, but also they'll have to ensure some financial assistance, economic assistance to Afghanistan, because maintaining almost 300,000 Afghan armed forces and police cost them around $9 billion, out of which 90% is, supported by the United States, And if the United States withdraws, and if it withdraws, say, without any assurances, because when you are seeking assurances means the United States is seeking assurances from the Taliban that their territory would not be misused. So Taliban are also seeking assurances from the United States that if you are leaving it us, because after 20 years of war and the death and destruction which has been caused, and still Afghanistan is not on its feet that it can feed its own armed forces, then I think you have the responsibility.
Desertion rate is quite a
It's
lot.
30%,
30%.
unprecedented in the world.
Yeah.
So this is what I want to say, that this agreement is going to take place. If they have to stay, then they'll have to stay with certain caveats.
Caveats.
Yes,
sir, please go
coming back to your question, particularly first part, the Indian connection, but before that, I think if at all you see some presence is accepted by the Taliban, where in hundreds or thousands, that is going to be on the basis of the fact that, well, there are also the other elements like Al-Qaeda and IS. So in order to control them, from which you see the Taliban may distance themselves. But how, that's another thing, that then Al-Qaeda and IS on one hand and Taliban would have some skirmishes. So in one way or another, this kind of a war would be actually not disliked by the United States of America.
Right.
Anyway, I would say that if the Taliban have finally made up their mind, that's a great development to come into the mainstream of Afghan politics. That's what was required. And I think peace must return to this very unfortunate country.
Actually, their leadership now complains about
Yes.
younger Taliban, that they are softies.
Now coming to India.
That they are turning to mobile
yes.
phones and movies.
Yes,
right?
India, very rightly stated. Now coming to the Indian role, and that they may be clearly spoilers, yes, they would do whatever is available to them under the sun.
Right.
They can use IS,
But
they
can't
can,
you-
they
can't
can
they
use
get-
the hard liners in the Taliban.
No, but sir, with due respect, can't they be convinced that it is in their interest also if Afghanistan settles down?
I think finally they would be convinced or persuaded by, if not by any other country, by the United States itself.
I don't think so.
Well, they can
Angels
do it
perhaps,
because
nobody else.
the United States can tell them about the benefits of the peace there, etc. So, but yes, I think again, well, I acknowledge that they didn't have much role in it, no sacrifices. Yet, you see, the United States of America finally would try to bring in some kind of regional solution to this matter at the macro level, at the strategic level, and in that India can get set.
There's this defiance building up in India's system against US influence as well. And we have seen that it works its way back to Washington, D.C., where Bolton, you must have read that report, that NSA, Bolton was actually trying to get a copy of the agreement, unsigned agreement, and then there was a fight over it. So India might actually be playing its cards as well, but somebody has to actually convince them that it is in their interest also that they actually let the peace process run its full course in Afghanistan and also build peace in the region.
I would say on the lighter side that India still has probably not realized that it's not India, it's Pakistan, which is Afghanistan's immediate neighbor.
Right. Zafar Saab, your conclusions.
Sir, I have an altogether different opinion because I have serious doubt about this agreement between Taliban and USA. Because
and you waited till the very end of the program to actually voice that concern. Yeah.
Not because of that, because I've been monitoring these developments. These 9th round of talks, just concluded. And still they are saying that they are on the threshold of reaching some agreement. These talks were started with one condition. The one condition was from the American side, the other was from the Taliban side. American side was that they were demanding that Taliban should guarantee that their land should not be used against any country for terrorism, something like that. They showed that yes, we'll do it and we are ready to give any kind of assurance. And the condition from the Taliban side was that we are not going to start talking on come to the table unless we talk only on one agenda item, that is withdrawal of all troops, not only American troops, all NATO troops from Afghanistan, nothing less than that. And still, at the end of 9th round of talk, Trump is saying that he still wants 8,600 soldiers.
Yeah.
So even
So
if
you are
there
not
is an
optimistic regarding that. Sir, I'm told that we have
But
done
there's
short of
one very
time.
important point, Mr. Patafi. I think they have already offered and they have sacrificed, I think, whatever I've read between the lines, even if it's not declared, they are no longer saying, the Taliban, I mean to say,
Sir.
the establishment of a purely Islamic emirate in Islam.
Right. They're going to be part of a dispensation. They're not going to be the dispensation itself. I'm told that we have to conclude the program now. Ambassador Asif Durrani, thank you very much, sir, for your time. Dr. Adnan Sarwar Khan, sir, thank you very much for your time as well. Zafar Mahmood Sheikh, sir, thank you very much for your time too, sir. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. Regarding India, the world is watching. And I don't know whether the world is going to only watch or do something about it. Because somehow everybody thinks that if you force India and Pakistan to resume talks, things are going to be hunky-dory. But there are certain aspects which are important. And as I keep reminding you, that there was a time when it was thought that Jewish people and their persecution was an internal matter of Nazi Germany. Then when the colonization of various countries started, Austria, Czechoslovakia, it was a bilateral matter. So if you're going to behave in that way, probably you're going to get another shock. This is one aspect. Regarding Afghanistan, one thing that was said at the very end by Sheikh Saab, that there were preconditions at the very start. But if you follow what has been happening since then, many things have transpired and things have been evolving. So those preconditions might not actually apply exactly in the same spirit. Of course, this assurance that Afghan territory will not be used against any country will stay there. But the US presence in the region, especially in Afghanistan's those areas where they are, might actually, in coming days, may not be actually a bone of contention. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.